What's up everybody, this is your captain speaking, and today I'd like to show off my Archmage build built around the replica Calm's Heart. Before we get started, if you enjoyed the video, please like and consider subscribing, and if you would like to see me live, I do stream over at twitch.tv/CaptainHero1. The link will be in the description. I don't know why people point down, but it's down. The description is underneath the video, I'm sure you know that. Leave a comment if there's any other replica item that you would like to see someone build around, and by someone I mean me. I am interested in building around a lot of the replica items. I don't want to do Alberons anymore because I think that one's been done to death and it's obviously very strong. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So obviously the build around here was replica Calm's Heart. As soon as I saw it, I knew I wanted to make my first Archmage character, which is why this character didn't turn out too great. So this character, it can do all content. I have done the Awakener on it, done Shaper, I've done Elder. I have not done Uber Elder because that's not a fight that I actually have any experience in. I have never completed it, and it costs about 2.5 exalts this league to run it, and I don't have that kind of money right now because I took a long break from the game. This league, I took about a month break. So the core of the build, replica Calm's Heart. Xeria's Foible is very strong. Lots of mana regeneration, and the reduced attribute requirements actually helps a lot. I have only 150 strength in this build, thanks to a heavy belt giving me 30 strength. So I can actually equip the replica Calm's Heart even though it has a 191 strength requirement, because that's brought down to about 146, 147 thanks to Xeria's Foible. I also have allocated Mind Drinker with an anointment. This is huge. Recovering 2% of your mana on kill while you're clearing packs in a map is basically every time you attack, you're full mana again, which is, it's unbelievably good. And if you are playing an Archmage build without mana on kill, you should really try it because you'll notice a huge difference. That's why a lot of people actually use, I don't know where mine is, Cinder Swallow, because even though you don't ignite anything, you can still get the mana on kill, which is just, it's basically a defensive barrier and a damage barrier. It's really good. I wanted to use Pledge of Hands because it gives you a lot of mana and a 7 link, and a 7 link is good because a 7 link makes your spell cost more mana. I'm at 3,000 mana cost right now, which is about a third of my mana pool. It's a 6 link. I 6 link this on my first fusing, not to brag, it's just what happened. You can absolutely play this build with a 5 link Pledge of Hands. You should just take out the faster casting. It's a low mana multiplier, and it's really only there to increase your quality of life. You will notice the cast speed difference for sure. Like there's 5 unleashed seals. It's like that, and then you put it in. So if you've played with faster casting in your links, you'll notice it when you take it out. But mapping without it is honestly fine. You can get away with it. My links are Archmage, Unleash, Faster Casting, Lightning Penetration, and Arcane Surge for my main damage skill. Other links include Intensify, Sigil of Power, Arcane Cloak, and Increased Duration. Increased Duration works double time with Arcane Cloak and Sigil of Power, and Intensify is just the largest increased area of effect that you can get on one gem. So the Sigil of Power is large, basically. Sigil of Power is, I think it's a hidden gem of this league. I'm sure other people are using it, but it's really quite strong for increasing. It's another 10% mana cost, so it brings it up to 3,300, and it adds another flat 500 lightning damage to the top end. You could see the damage numbers for the lightning damage. I don't know why I pointed it to on my screen, but it goes pretty high because of the Sigil of Power. Next up, we have just Righteous Fire for Vol Righteous Fire for bosses. Faster casting, Lightning Warp, less duration. People usually use what, like Swift Affliction in here for even less skill duration. It's definitely nice. I would recommend it, but it's not necessary. You can still travel around pretty safe. It is pretty scary on bosses when they have a slam and you just can't dodge it. Clarity in a ring, as well as Wrath in a ring. We use an Essence Worm because we don't want to reserve any of our mana. We get away with Clarity because Clarity is just a good aura to have for us. And we use Wrath for lightning damage. Because look at that, 22% more spell lightning. Pretty good. For the last links, we have Stormbrand, Conductivity, Hex Touch, and Power Charge on crit. This is bad. Do not use Power Charge on crit. The fact that I'm still using this is because I'm lazy. You should absolutely use increased critical strikes, and that's just so that we can proc our elemental overload. You'll notice that we are not a crit build. I could not find a way to make this build go crit without using like a different item, because I'm not using like a wand and a shield. Getting like 300% crit on items felt really unlikely, so the best route for me was to go stacking as much mana as possible and elemental overload. That's everything for items. Enchantment on the boot, mana regeneration if you've cast a spell recently, beautiful, works really well. I'm sure you can understand why that's good. You can get better boots than this without a doubt. The reason that my gear for the boots and the gloves is kind of bad is because I'm an idiot and my ring is also really bad. Whenever I use the Wise Oak, I feel the need to triple balance my gear, and you should not do this. It's completely unnecessary. Just make sure that you have more lightning res than anything else and you'll get the penetration. If you triple balance, then you'll take 10% reduced damage from all elements when you have the Wise Oak, which is really strong, but it's not worth giving up the other things I gave up. Rings, you can get more mana, more life. I don't even know what else, but I assure you there is something better you can do than triple capping. For boots, you can get mana on boots just for that. On gloves, you can also get mana on gloves. Absolutely get mana above balancing for Wise Oak. I did not. I balanced for Wise Oak and I'm paying for it basically in a lack of mana. The belt slot, this is actually a pretty good belt. It's got elemental damage, mana recovery rate, mana, and life. These are all things that you want on your belt. So this belt, I rate it pretty highly as one of my better pieces of gear, but not quite as good as this helmet I have. Obviously the enchantment does not matter, we're not using Sentinels of Purity at all, but it's got mana, 70 res, 67 res, and 55 life, and an Unleash Seal maximum, +1 maximum Unleash Seals. Don't know why I said it like that. This is huge for your damage. I said it's about an 80% more multiplier to your damage in my last video, because like it just is. Like support skills deal 11% less damage when reoccurring, so it's actually an 89% more multiplier because you just get one more repeat on a single target boss. Obviously you have to wait for the seals to get back, and that's why we've made certain decisions in our tree, which I will now show off by switching to Path of Building. By switching, I mean bringing it up. Here we go. So the tree is incredibly generic. Anything that says mana we went for, and it's other than the starting node because this is pretty weak, life and mana regeneration. But go for this Arcane Surge buffer, go for this life and mana recovery, go for this mana cost. Forethought's great, always go for this. Agnostic in this build is really strong. You'll notice in the next video I upload, which is going to be a boss compilation, how much stuff you can get away with with tanking, because you have about not 3,000, like almost 3,000 life regenerated per second while you're not on full life. So you can just tank like Shaper Beam for a little bit. You can even get hit by like the Awakener's like big laser, You can get hit by pretty much anything, and as long as you're full mana, you won't die. Always take this little node for Dynamo. This little node makes your arcane cloak recover its cooldown faster. Really important. This little node is also amazing. You see, just it's adding 300 flat mana. This little node is basically akin to Constitution. 25 max mana and 10% max mana. 10% max mana. Like, it's such a huge little node, and it's just hidden there. Like, you don't have to take it, but you really should. Like, you really should. The Watchers I am currently using is damage taken gained as mana over 4 seconds when hit, which stacks with this to have 30%. I don't know if just using an increased mana recovery clarity is better, so an increased mana recovery Watcher's Eye is better while using clarity. That's something that I need to experiment with, but I'm not gonna. I think this one is probably worse, so I would go for an increased mana recovery rate if you are doing this build. Like I said, it's Elemental Overload. Of course, it's Mind Over Matter because we have 9,000 mana, so why wouldn't we? That's most of the build. That's most of the defense in this build is Mind Over Matter plus Divine Guidance. Gives you 40% of your damage taken as mana before life. Huge defensive barrier. Increased maximum life is 163%, but our life is so low because we don't have a chess piece, and we're prioritizing mana over life on a lot of our gear. We use one cluster jewel in this build. The only thing that's really important about this cluster jewel is Seal Mender. 30% increased seal game frequency for Unleash is huge. It's amazing. This is, I don't know why I ever see builds without this in it. This adds so much to your build. You'll notice it immediately. And then I have Scintillating Idea on a small cluster jewel. This whole thing gives me 32% increased maximum mana and 5% lightning penetration. It's just good. That's a really strong cluster jewel. You see it's adding almost 10% DPS. And how much flat mana? 521? Pretty good. Conjured Wall. This is useless. It's not completely useless. In my boss killing clips, you'll actually notice that I do block some things, but I would drop these 2 points, this point, and probably just go for more jewels, honestly. Jewels are really strong. That's pretty much everything else when it comes to the build. It's just really generic Unleash and mana. So now we're gonna go and do some clearing. Put this in. So now I'm gonna showcase the build in the tier 16. The video's already kind of run on a little long, and this is like the worst tier 16 in the world in terms of layout, but I'll talk about everything that I'm doing. Oh, I didn't talk about my flask, so I can talk about those now. So I did talk about the Wise Oak. The Wise Oak is good for damage and defense from elemental attacks, because it reduces elemental damage taken by 10%. If your resistance is triple balanced, it reduces all elemental damage taken by 10%. So that's pretty good. And it also gives you 15% damage penetration, or elemental penetration. So I don't think I need to explain why 15% elemental penetration is strong. Enemies have resistance, taking that resistance away, or even going to the negatives is good. You know. The next thing is Kiara's Determination, which is the second flask in my thing. It's a silver flask, which at maximum quality lasts for only 3 seconds, but it gives you a lot in those 3 seconds. It gives you immunity to stuns, curses, and freeze. When I was playing this build in the beginning, I noticed one thing more than anything else, is that I kept getting stunned. I would lightning warp into a pack, and then immediately get stunned on trying to right click, and it would consume all my mana, and then I would just die because they would hit me, so I'd lose all my mana to Mind Over Matter. And the Agnostic, they would both be just like draining all my mana, and I would just die to a pack pretty much any time I got too close to them, which is, you can play around that for sure. Just don't lightning warp into packs. But if you're like me and you're just like power mapping, and you're just trying to map as fast as possible, you're not really thinking about your placement too much, unless you're fighting like scary enemies. Up next is a Mana Flask. With, obviously it has Enduring on it, so it'll keep going even when you're full mana. Right, it's called Enduring. It's got Curse Immunity on it, because I have highly valued Curse Immunity as a player. Especially on a Mana Flask, that you can pretty much almost have 24/7 uptime on it, because it takes so little charges to use. So as you can see, the build, it clears pretty well. The bossing leaves something to be desired. It's relatively safe as a bosser, but the damage isn't, you know, through the roof. This is a tier 16, so you know the boss has a decent amount of HP. Bada bing, bada boom. It basically a full clear of the map in about 3.5 minutes, which for Maze is pretty good. So yeah, the build is not perfect, and if you're looking for a min-max Archmage build, going Replica Count's Heart plus Pledge of Hands and Arc is not what you want to do. You probably want to be looking at a Blade Vortex build and going a Scion. I'm a Hierophant because it just looked like the best to me, but it isn't. It isn't. This node is not very useful. It just gives you some power, it's some elemental penetration, and this just gives you Arcane Surge. So what's left of the build? Pretty much nothing. You've seen everything. You've probably already left at this point. The only thing left to show off is the MTX. Show off how to do this effect that I have around my character. You'll see that I have like 2 circles around my character. If you want your character to look like this, it takes one MTX called Force Field Aura Effect. So you put that on, and then you have Malagar's Restraint, which gives you another orb. Take them both off. Malagar's Restraint puts this small purple barrier around you, and then Force Field Discipline, or Force Field Aura Effect, puts the second orb, so it's like you're in a bubble. It's pretty cool. Everything else, it's a Abyssal Lich. It's a supporter pack from Abyss, I guess, because it says Abyssal Lich. That's my guess. Breach Weapon Effect, obviously from Breach, Assassin Apparition, Breach Lord Cloak. I use Polar Bear and a White Wolf Pet because my girlfriend really likes them. Steam Powered Portal Effect is definitely not my favorite, but it's just one of the ones I have, so I was using it. Breach Footsteps. This video has gone on too long already, so we're just gonna end it here, but once again, if you did like the video, please like it. Leave a comment if there's any other replica that you want to see me build. The build will be in the description. I'll paste the path to building link. Please subscribe, follow me on Twitch. I don't know how to do an outro clearly, because every single time I get to the outro I just sort of ramble on, and then I have to hit the stop recording button.